Our next speaker is Jen Schnakenberg. Jen is an Assistant Director of Education and serves as the interface between the Parks Conservancy's Education Department, local schools, and other environmental educational organizations. In all of her work, she is focused on creating and sharing programs that increase understanding of our reliance on natural systems and that help students acquire skills to continue learning about the world and sharing in its care. Jen, take it away.
Thank you, Shelly. And first, I just want to thank the Playful Learning Landscapes Action Network, Trying Together, and the Playful Pittsburgh Collaborative for inviting me to speak today. As Shelly said, my name is Jen Schnakenberg. I'm the Assistant Director of Education at the Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy. And in this part of the session, I'm going to focus, as Scott did, on what we've been able to do over the last 11 months. But I'm really excited, hopefully in the questions and the breakouts, to talk maybe about how some of these things can carry through to the future. Next slide, please. I want to start off by providing some context for those of you who may not be familiar with our organization or our work. Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy has been a nonprofit partner to the city of Pittsburgh for all things parks for nearly 25 years. We believe in the power of parks to improve our quality of life and provide social, economic, and public health benefits to the city of Pittsburgh. Our work strengthens the park system through parks planning, capital projects, ecological restoration, environmental stewardship, and education. The Parks Conservancy is also a founding member of the Playful Pittsburgh Collaborative. So I've got a lot of friendly faces in the room here today. Next slide, please. So about that education piece, the Parks Conservancy manages the Frick Environmental Center, which is pictured here. It is a free public nature center situated at the gateway to an over 600-acre urban park. And this park is really our primary classroom. Our naturalist educators on staff provide outdoor environmental education programs in a variety of formats for all ages, really focusing on the out of school time realm. We have longstanding school partner programs where teachers and their students come to visit us multiple times throughout the school year, and which are designed to dovetail with the teacher's classroom curricula. We put on public programs ranging in scope from an intimate mommy and me story time to multi-day festivals that attract thousands of visitors. We also do neighborhood outreach. So we bring our special blend of nature and play to smaller parks all across the city. Next slide, please. So at the Environmental Center, our driving vision is really connecting people to nature. And one of the things that we love most about nature is the many benefits that it has for us as humans. And it's striking when I'm in these forums to think how the benefits of interacting with nature really mirror the benefits of play. And I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think that both quality play and time spent in nature are immersive experiences that engage multiple senses and multiple ways of learning. And they also have in common an open-endedness and an invitation to curiosity and creativity. Next slide, please. Just to briefly recap some of the benefits specifically of time spent in nature, it promotes physical activity, reduces stress, supports good immune function, improves attention, mood, and memory, and it helps us to build connections both with each other socially and with the world around us. As I mentioned before, engaging with nature supports a more open-ended and creative style of play. And it's interesting to note here, especially given our circumstances right now with COVID, that some of these benefits have been demonstrated for engaging with nature in very limited ways. So for example, looking out the window or caring for a houseplant. And there's even some evidence for positive effects of looking at pictures and videos of nature. Next slide, please. Nature also supports learning more directly. So the benefits of outdoor environmental education are many and well documented. Outdoor learning supports inquiry and scientific thinking. It's cross-disciplinary in nature and supports connections between science, language arts, social studies, math, the arts, and other curricular areas. Outdoor learning programs build communication and leadership skills. They have an authenticity that classroom lessons often lack, and they've been shown to promote interest and motivation, especially in students who may struggle in the classroom. And finally, outdoor learning has great potential for promoting equitable and culturally responsive practice, because every culture relates to nature in its own way and has wisdom to share about the natural world. These benefits might sound familiar. They have a huge overlap with the 6 C's that Kathy talked about, as well as with the benefits of high quality play. Next slide, please. So that's all great. How do we continue to support playful outdoor learning during a global pandemic? You know this story. 11 months ago, our staff stopped all in-person programming. Schools were closed, so there were no field trips. And none of us as environmental educators had much experience with hosting online classes or developing digital resources. But a couple of interesting things happened that guided our plans for working through COVID. Next slide, please. One really interesting thing that happened in 2020 is that people seem to know instinctively that nature and play are things that they need right now. According to Google mobility reports, park usership is up more than 100% for the months following March 2020. And if you look at the highest month, which was September 2020, park usership was 182% above the baseline. And that's fallen off a bit as the temperature has gone down outside, but it still represents a huge increase. And you've probably seen this anecdotally if you've tried to visit a park near your house, or you've seen the news reports that, you know, state parks have had to limit the number of cars in the parking lot because they were getting overcrowded. People are out there, they are out in nature, and they are looking for things to do. Next slide, please. So at the Parks Conservancy, our approach in supporting people's connection to nature during COVID-19 has been twofold. First, we want to support and inspire families to explore more outdoors and to explore in a more intentional way. And second, we want to provide teachers with resources, activities, and connections, just as we would during a normal school year, but tailored to our current situation. So how have we been able to do this? Next slide, please. One of the first supports we developed was a comprehensive web landing page called Parks on the Go. And at the beginning, this was largely just collecting our park engagement resources into one place and segmenting them by interest so that people could find what they were looking for quickly. Having this landing page makes it easy for park users, for parents, for teachers to find resources that once had been scattered or siloed across different parts of our website. And it also provides a home for the new digital resources that we have created and curated in response to COVID. So we're continually expanding, refreshing, and adding resources to this page. But if you know pittsburghparks.org/parksonthego, you know where to look. Next slide, please. So turning to how we've supported children and families specifically, we started by ramping up our existing parks prescription program to allow families to search for parks by location and by amenities. So for example, you can filter and see all of the parks near you that have a playground or have a picnic shelter or basketball court, for example. For over 20 parks in the city of Pittsburgh, we have developed detailed activity guides that include information on transportation options, park amenities, and usually incorporate a scavenger hunt or some other kind of like pictorial game for young children. We have also developed a set of seasonal activity guides in conjunction with Parks RX, so you can see the winter activity sheet here, or a part of it. And these are able to be used in any parks or green space, or even in your own backyard. So these guides are not intended to be an end in themselves, but just really provide families with some scaffolding, some little support, little nudge to check out new parks and interact with nature in new ways. Next slide, please. Another set of online resources we've developed are curated activity bundles. And I find that I need to define this. Thinking back you probably have the same experience that I did last spring, where every day you would get an email with long lists of hundreds of online learning opportunities on a wide range of topics. And these lists were somewhat indiscriminate. The resources that were on them varied in quality, they varied in relevance. Some of the links might have been older or dead. Sometimes the links were just to lists of more lists. And so what we've tried to do instead is comb through those resources, pull out and curate what we think are the best of the best, and package them together into thematic bundles. So for example, on the topic of bees, we'll have a page that you can open and there'll be a short video about bees, there'll be a craft, and there'll be some kind of suggestion for an outdoor activity. And often with these, we're also putting kind of a local spin on it. So we're not going to be asking you to go out there and look for koala bear, for example. That's not going to happen. So these bundles are simple, they're easy to download and share, and they can be used by parents, teachers, and other caregivers. For older children and adults, similarly, we've tried to curate sort of a small list of things, and we really focus on citizen science projects as a way for folks to engage meaningfully with the real world. And we developed some of our own supporting resources to help people know how to contribute best to these projects. We've also developed over 40 short videos highlighting local nature through different lenses. So some of them really focus on natural history. Some of them are really more oriented toward mindfulness in the outdoors, mental health. And then some of them are really highlighting simple ways that you can play in the outdoors and with natural objects. And the common theme among all of these offerings is that our goal is to inspire folks when they're done looking at that video or doing the craft to turn away from that screen, turn toward the outdoors, and really be inspired to engage more deeply with the world around them. Next slide, please. Awesome. So speaking of the real world, we have been out there providing some in-person outdoor program offerings. Last summer, we were unable to host our traditional summer camps, but we held pop-up outdoor enrichment activities at a couple parks and rec centers throughout the city, where our colleagues from city parks were distributing summer food. So the families who would come to pick up a lunch would also get to do a socially distant nature activity with us. And we had a tremendous response to this program, both from parents and from childcare centers and summer camps who were utilizing those park and rec center spaces. And what that really showed us is that parents and caregivers were hungry for new ways to interact with their kids and new reasons to get outside and play. Throughout the fall and winter, we've tried to keep that inspiration flowing with our backpack lending program. So we have 5 different themed packs, including forest, meadow, and stream exploration. We have a healthy hiking pack and a new pack focused on winter fun that families can reserve. They check it out for the weekend. They can take it wherever they want to go. They can use it right at the environmental center. They can take it home with them. They get to keep it for a couple days, and they can use it to explore on their own. I'm going to turn briefly now, next slide, please, to the ways that we have supported teachers throughout COVID-19. Through our established school programs, we've built long-standing relationships with schools and teachers. These teachers welcomed us, once they got their sea legs, welcomed us into their virtual classrooms this fall. And we were able to interact with their students, lead activities, and provide a little bit of nature inspiration. When we do these classroom visits, we cover the same themes and contents that we would in a field trip, and we work with the teachers to make the lessons as interactive as possible. And again, we've had great response with this. The kids really like seeing someone new. We've had great contributions from the students in their drawings and their suggestions, and in playing games with them. Next slide, please. So we follow up each classroom visit with related digital resources that are designed to be flexibly deployed by the teacher in whatever way works for them, because We work with a variety of classrooms, different school buildings, different school districts even. What I've pictured on this slide is one of the very first digital resources that we developed last spring. It's part of a 3-panel comic introducing nature journaling for an upper elementary school audience. And in a simple graphical way, this comic covers the basic how-tos of nature journaling. It highlights some of the social emotional learning benefits of journaling as well. And then we're able to build on that foundation and continue to send more nature journaling prompts to the students and their teachers. Since then, we've developed richer and more interactive digital content for all of our school partners. And so an example of that is we have a virtual meadow exploration. And when I said these can be flexibly deployed by the teacher is free to share just that full web page and let the children explore on their own, or pull out specific resources and activities that are embedded within that to use as the teacher sees fit. Last slide, please, or next slide. I just want to close by reflecting on what we as educators have learned over the last year. So we've learned we can have meaningful online interactions with learners, even in public programs. We can create safe in-person programming. We've learned that people in Pittsburgh, the adults and children alike, are really hungry for new real-world experiences in nature. And at the same time, that folks really appreciate a little bit of scaffolding, a little bit of support as they start to engage with parks and with nature in a new way. Last slide, please. Thank you.